Hey, it's Taylor with Mom on the Spectrum, and today I've got another unedited video for you featuring 46 phrases or questions that hurt autistic people's brains. This was a suggestion that I had sent in to me on my Instagram. I thought it was a great idea, and so I posed the question on my social media sites, and I got more responses to this question than I have on anything else. And the cool thing about it was I started to see patterns, like in all things within our autistic community, of similar experiences that we all have. And there's a lot of phrases on here that I saw again and again and again. So stay tuned for the end for the number one thing that people said is the most upsetting thing to hear. And also let me hear your comments. What are some things that might have been left off the list that are upsetting for you to hear? If anybody wants to make like timestamps for the 46 different phrases and put it in the comments, I will pin your comment. Like, I would love it if you would do that because I know some of you enjoy doing that. That would help me out. Okay, so before we jump into the list, just want to make sure you know I've got a new thing to offer. First of all, did I say my name? I'm Taylor. I'm a late diagnosed autistic mom with two autistic kids. I started my channel to help other autistic adults find community and learn to love themselves after a lifetime of not having enough validation and support. So I've got free resources that I will link in the description, including an ultimate guide to understanding autism. But what I wanted to share with you today is I am starting to make my classes that I've run for the past 3 years available on demand. So the one that I just released is my most popular class of all time, Autistic Inertia and Demand Avoidance. This one has always sold out, and I decided to make it available so that you can watch it whenever you want to watch it. So I will put a link to that in the description, but it's momonthespectrum.life/classes. Also have a class called How to Unmask, Cultivating Your True Autistic Self. And I'm going to be posting more on-demand classes this semester, this fall season. I've got Meltdowns 101 coming. I've also got autism, relationships on the spectrum, is I think what I'm going to call it. So autism in relationships, autism in the workplace. Keep checking that link, momonthespectrum.life/classes. Bookmark it because I've got a lot more stuff coming for you. Okay, that being said, if this video is helpful to you, please like it and subscribe to the channel. That's totally free, and that helps me out so much as a single autistic mom with two autistic kids. Okay, so let's jump into the list. Numero uno, number one. Should I say trigger warning? Because I'm going to ask some of these questions and say some of these statements, and I know that we're going to have a cringe response. Okay, so reminder to breathe deeply during this video. They're just questions. You don't have to answer them. Okay. The first one's a statement. Tell me a little bit about yourself, or share a fun fact about yourself. Yeah. How many of you, your brain just freezes, goes blank? I don't know. Who am I? What's my name? Number two, can you tell me about a time when, or give me an example? So for me, this is so frustrating. When somebody asks me to give an example, it's like I can either be social and have this conversation with you, or I can retreat into the recesses of my mind and figure out an adequate example based on all the parameters that it needs to fit in this given moment. I can do one of those two things. And if I do the latter, you're going to think that I'm weird and that I'm just staring into space blankly for too long until I realize that it's now been an awkward amount of time and I need to come back to the conversation. So yeah, giving an example on the spot, very, very difficult. Number three, because I said so. This one came up so much. We need to know why. We don't want to do things just because you said so. We need to understand the reason behind it, and then we'll back off. Okay. But because I said so, that can be an instant meltdown for some of us. Along with this, number four, that's just how it is. That's how things are. Y'all hated that one. That one came up so much in the comments. We don't want to be told that's the way it is. Well, let's do it differently. I do it differently. Number five, what have you been doing? What have you been up to? I don't know. What have I ever done in my life before? It's like whenever I try to figure out what I should cook for dinner, it's like, when have I ever cooked dinner before? What meal have I ever made? I don't know. When somebody asks me, what have I been up to? I'm like, am I a person? Not really. That's an oversimplification, but okay. Number six, don't worry about it, or it's not a big deal. And I think this one's an issue because many in our community have dealt with so much gaslighting and basically invalidation of what we're experiencing in the moment. And so when somebody tells us it's not a big deal, don't worry about it. Maybe people that aren't autistic don't like that either, but it particularly is so upsetting to us because we have a history of being chronically invalidated. So it feels like people aren't listening and they're just writing over the things that are really important to us. Okay, let's see. I didn't number these on my paper. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Number 7. Rate this on a scale of 1 to 10. Okay, I've talked about this before in my Things Autistic People Do series. When we go to the doctor and it's like, how bad is your pain on a scale of 1 to 10? It's like, I don't know. Who are you? What's your pain threshold? How are you going to determine my medical care based on how I answer this question? And like, yeah, there's too many things. So rating anything on a scale of 1 to 10, there's too many variables. It can't be done. The next one, do you see the big picture or focus on the small details? Questions like this where it's like, it depends. What are we talking about? Are we talking about a wedding? Are we talking about my grocery list? Like, how am I supposed to answer that question? And somebody mentioned that's one of the questions on some of the autism assessments. And I froze on that one too. I'm like, give me more information, please. Fake it until you make it. That's tricky for us, especially when you think about autistic masking. That's so frustrating. If somebody says fake it until you make it, it's like, welcome to my life. Tell me something helpful. Okay, next one. Let me get my pencil over here so I can keep the numbers going. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Saying, how's it going? Or what's up? And you don't expect an answer. Like if somebody just walked by, like, what's up? And that's like a hello. It's like, am I supposed to say how I'm doing? What does this mean? Why do they just keep walking? And I was like, it can be so confusing. Like, how are you using that phrase? What does it mean? That was one that came in a lot. Number 11, absolute expressions such as always or never. This would be one of the things on the top of my list. And actually, it's good practice not to use always and never, especially in relationships, because that can be very upsetting. But yeah, always and never, it's like, okay, that's not true 100% of the time, right? And autistic people, a lot of these are generalizations, but we tend to be pretty literal. And so if somebody says always, it's probably not true. Okay, number 12, we should get together sometime. That's so much pressure. Like when, why, like what's the purpose? Are we friends now? Like there's just so many things of like, how do I navigate that question? What's your intention? What's your motivation behind asking me this question? Number 13, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I don't know. I don't know where I see myself in 5 minutes. Again, too many variables. I can't answer that question honestly, because where I am next week depends on the decisions I make today. Anyways, it just compounds too quickly. Number 14, what is the book you're reading about? Or what was the movie about? Another one where my brain just freezes. It's like, I know. And I loved the book and it was great, but there's no information in my brain to help me communicate to you what it was about right now. Why does that happen? I'm not the only one because I saw that in the comments. Okay, this one surprised me. This one came up a lot. 15, you'll just know. Paired with 16, you'll figure it out by yourself or it's pretty self-explanatory. These two, along with the very last one that I'm going to share at the end, probably came up the most. This is surprising. I didn't expect this. You'll just know and you'll figure it out by yourself or it's pretty self-explanatory. We hate that. Yeah, because it's like a lot of times we need detailed instructions. Let us know what you're wanting. Because my brain's going to take it a totally different way and you're going to be like, actually, that would have paired well. There's one on the next page, spoiler alert. That would have paired well with, why are you doing it that way? That's another thing we don't like to hear. Number 17, what's your favorite anything? Color, car, movie, book, record, season? I don't know. Give me more variables. What day is it? What am I wanting to feel? Like, I don't know. I don't know. Number 18, I'm so proud of you. Does anybody else get annoyed at that? The people who wrote in about this said it feels condescending. And like a lot of times I agree. I'm like, I don't need you to tell me you're proud of me. Like I did it because I wanted to and because I don't know. That it is a weird phrase. When I read that, I was like, yeah, I feel weird about that phrase too. But I guess it also depends on the context. I'm curious in the comments about that one. Number 19, what do you want to do? What do you want to eat? What do you want? in general? What do you want? Those things freeze us up. And again, I think that goes back to being like masking. And a lot of us have been gaslit and validated for so long. It's really, really hard to identify our wants. That's the number one thing that I came away with after compiling all of these responses. It's really hard for us to figure out what we want. And I talk about these things in more detail, like in my on-demand classes that I mentioned, and also in my connection groups that I run. I'll put a link to those in the description. But figuring out what we want as an autistic person is really, really important. It can be very scary. It's a silly example, but I say, you can start figuring out things that you want and things that you like by just making a change as small as like trying a different cereal when you go grocery shopping. Because I bet you've got one that you always grab. Just, kind of on a whim or maybe an educated guess, pick another one that you've never tried before and see how it goes. So just trying out those small, I wasn't going to get into this, but my psychologist also mentioned something called a towards and away response. So that might be interesting for you to do some autistic research on. Pay attention to what your body goes towards and what your body moves away from. And those are also good indicators of what you want. Okay. Number 20, this came up a lot. You're awfully quiet. Yeah, I was. And now I have the fear of being perceived because you've called me out in front of everybody. And I was just over here minding my business, listening, and probably in a different reality in my brain. 21, happy birthday. I bet many of us don't like to hear that. Again, fear of being perceived. Oh, Beltray just jumped up on my desk right when I moved my pen. Sorry, buddy. Yeah, fear of being perceived. So when it's your birthday, it's like, oh, everybody's looking at me. Okay, number 22, just do it. Or, sorry, Beltray, my cat's shaking the camera. Beltray, we're busy here, and I am not editing this one. Number 22, just do it. People were mad about this because it's one of those things like, oh, have you ever tried... Okay, this would have paired nicely. Again, spoiler alert with one down here. Have you tried meditation? Just one of those things of like, well, it's not that hard. Just make your bed. Sorry, camera shake. He just jumped off and he weighs a lot. Where is he? Oh, okay. Well, I promise there's a cat in here somewhere. There he is. Just do it. Yeah, like it's executive functioning. Like it's not always available. So when someone says just do it, it's like it's not that easy. 23, I love this one. Inspired by true events or based on a true story. Which parts? Be specific. I need to know. Is this like an idea that somebody had that you based off of something that actually had? There's too many different directions. Okay, number 24, smile. Or hey, come hop in the picture. It's pretty self-explanatory. Number 25. Oh, when I say that's self-explanatory, is that annoying? Because that was one of the things on the list. Okay, so being told to smile would be annoying because then we have to figure out what our face is doing, what it's supposed to be doing. Hopping in the picture could be a form of masking if we don't want to be in the picture, yada, yada. Okay, 25. How would you evaluate your performance? So this question, I feel like highlights so many autistic challenges. I started writing them down because I'm like, oh, this is a good one. So evaluating your performance could bring up fear of being perceived, which is something we struggle with. Perfectionism, a lot of us struggle with that too. Masking, demand avoidance, and rejection sensitive dysphoria. So when I saw this question, I was like, whoa, that's a gold mine for autistic challenges. Number 26, trigger warning. And I say that, I don't want to make light of trigger warnings, so my apologies there, but this one might make you nervous. Hey, we're in town. Can we stop by? 27, another really popular one that probably would be at the top of the list in terms of frequency mentioned, number of times mentioned. Would you listen, or will you listen better? A lot of us apparently have been told this when we feel like we're listening. We're just doing it our own way. Number 28, how was your week? Or how was your weekend? Again, I can't remember anything that I did in the past 24 hours. Unless for me, it's that switching between the social mode and the tinker around in my brain mode. It's like I can either be a part of this conversation with you and stay here, or I can retreat into my brain and actually, it's like I have to switch on a different light to look at that information, and then I can bring it back to the conversation. It's weird. Anybody else? Number 29, what's new? What's new with you? Again, kind of the same vein. 30, this is the one I gave you the spoiler alert for. Why are you doing it that way? Again, my camera's shaky. Why are you doing it that way? That's frustrating to hear because I see it differently. We were talking about this in my connection group today. Just at work, seeing a different way to do things, and at first having people like say, why are you doing it that way? And then realizing, oh, there's actually a lot of merit to that because you've solved a problem that we didn't know existed. 31, are you excited? Okay, that's no. Because then what do I need to do with my face? Do I not look excited? Am I communicating something wrong? Like, am I supposed to be excited? How do I show my excitement? Too many thoughts. 32, how's this weather, huh? I don't know, it's weather. How do I answer that question? Would you rather? I don't know. Please explain the context. Would you rather do this or this? I don't know. I need more information. 34, what are you thinking about? Okay, I just wrote down some things that I could be thinking about. String theory. What is insulation made out of? Do I have free will? What movie was that actor in? They're playing that role really well. Do they have similar trauma like me? And then I'll like go look up their bio. I don't know. And then I'll connect that to something totally different and like a different stratosphere. And then I'll be like 10 million miles away from the thing that I started thinking about. And then you want to have a conversation with me? I'm like, I got to follow the yellow brick road to get back home. That was weird. Okay. 35, no pain, no gain. This has been problematic for some of us, apparently, because we take that literally. So it's like, okay, I literally need to make myself feel pain so that I can gain something out of this. Now, that statement isn't literal. Some of us are just now learning that right now as I'm saying it. That statement is not literal. It just means it needs to cost you something, right? Like you have to give up something in order to get something is kind of what I take that to mean. Okay, not everybody's going to agree with these next two, but I put them on here because I agree with them. I don't care what you think about it. You can think differently than me. That's fine. 36 is neurospicy. I don't like that term. I don't like it. If you love it, that's great. I'm sorry to rain on your parade. Use it, but I'm not going to use it. 37, a touch of the tism. It's maybe people think it sounds funny, but I don't. No. I'm going to cross this one off. Okay. 38, idioms. So idioms are like play it by ear, like a saying. Idioms are so confusing to me. I don't even want to define them. Every time I catch myself trying to use an idiom to have like colloquial language, like talk like everyone else, I'm always like, no, there's no way I use that idiom correctly. That doesn't make any sense. I don't know. Idioms are so weird to me. It's like I have to memorize them and then figure out which context, the context in which to share them. And then I just get too confused. And then I usually just always have to look it up after I've used an idiom. Like, yeah, I'll just stop using them. Number 39, don't be so dramatic or you're too sensitive. Another one that I talk about a lot in my connection groups because all of us, not all of us, that's an absolute. Many of us within the autistic community have been told that we're too sensitive, overreactive, and we're just responding to our body's feedback. We're like a finely tuned machine. And if anything's off, our body tells us it's off. And that's important information. Number 40, super annoying. Everybody, please quit saying this. Everyone is a little autistic. They're not. Next, 41. I mentioned this earlier. Have you tried meditation? But on that note, because a lot of us, okay, the reason why that one is upsetting to me, a lot of us have trouble sitting still, especially you mix like ADHD in and it's like sitting still, seated meditation is like a nightmare. So one thing that could be helpful if you're interested in kind of a meditative activity is something called Tai Chi. This is something I've started recommending recently because it's really calming and relaxing. So Tai Chi is like guided, gentle movements, and you can do it like standing. My camera was following me. If you YouTube like Tai Chi, I think it's TAICHI, there should be some free practices. It's like a moving meditation that might be a little bit more palatable. Number 42, how can I help you? Again, this is one that really scared us. I don't know my wants and needs, so I don't know how you can help me. Okay, I said this was unedited, but my computer locked and I had to unlock it. So One minor edit here. Number 43, just a little longer, or it'll only take a second. It'll only take a minute. Again, being literal minded, it's like, it's going to take more than 60 seconds. I put this one in here because I want to know your thoughts in the comments. This is one of those things where if you've met one autistic person, you've met one autistic person. We have all different iterations of ourselves across the spectrum. So 44 is swearing or cursing. Some of us love this. Some of us hate it and feel really icky. So I want to know where you fall if you want to share that. Number 45, why can't you act normal? Another one of the main ones that came up at the top. And then number 46, by far, hands down, the question that came in most often with the highest frequency of responses that upsets our brains is, how are you? Now, I think the issue here is that people aren't expecting an authentic response. How are you in this day and age typically means mask. Say you're fine. It's just an introduction. Then we'll get into what we're doing, if it's a conversation or whatever. So I think that's the issue, is we're trying to decode, what does it mean when somebody says, how am I? Is it safe to actually say how I am? Can I actually say how I'm feeling? And even then, how do I identify this feeling? Because then we deal with alexithymia a lot of times. So it's like, a lot of times I just read everything as being anxious, right? That's my go-to feeling. So how are you just brings up a lot of, I think, ingrained social behaviors that are hard to deprogram. And I think it just becomes really confusing for us to navigate that question. So yeah, thank you to everybody who wrote in. This is really fascinating to me. I'll probably do a follow-up about this, or like create a shorts spin-off series, just because there was so much feedback and good information here that I think is really enlightening and helps better understand our community. Check out my on-demand classes, momonthespectrum.life/classes. For my recommendation today is autistic inertia and demand avoidance. And yeah, thanks for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up if it was helpful to you, and subscribe to my channel so you can stay up to date with the latest videos. Give me video suggestions, because I just got this one yesterday and making it and posting it today. Send in your video suggestions. I'll do what I can with them, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.